to talk, please leave the room. If you are a member of the press, please check in with the convention information table. Please help me welcome our speaker, Bernadette G., sharing on the topic of relationships, God, self, and others.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bernadette. I'm an addict. I'm really grateful to be clean today and to be here at this convention and to be sharing on this topic. I've been praying and meditating and on this, what this means to me, relationships, God, self, and others. And I think it's an awesome topic. And at first I was nervous because it just seems like it's so big. And but it really is what living life on life's terms is all about. And it's about relationships, how I relate in the world. My relationship with God, I guess, is the most fundamental relationship in my life. Because when I walked in here, I let that go, my spirituality, so long before I actually got clean, that I felt totally abandoned and that there was no light at all. I believe my higher power brought me in here. It was an absolute divine intervention because one moment I was using and the next moment I made a decision or I made an awakening that I didn't want to live this way anymore. And it just had to be divine intervention. So that was my first real awakening that I had a relationship with God, with a higher power. Because it was so dramatic. I learned, by being brought into Narcotics Anonymous, I learned about how to trust my higher power. I didn't trust people yet, self. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust others. But because of that divine intervention, I started to develop a trust in the higher power that if I just showed up and just didn't get high, that I would be okay, and the next moment would pass on and I would still be clean, and the next moment would pass on and I would still be clean. And if I had thoughts of using or thoughts of doing something crazy, that I was taught and told that all I had to do was ask for help, that my higher power could restore me to sanity. So by doing all those things just to stay clean for another day, I really developed a trust in a higher power. And that was the foundation for me to start learning how to love myself and how to have a relationship with myself in good, bad, and ugly. And later, how to have a relationship, a real genuine relationship with others in my life. So I started, I looked for a sponsor. I found a sponsor, and by working with her and, telling her little pieces and hearing her story and the things that she did and the feelings that she felt, I started to feel like I wasn't so bad, and that even when I told her these things and even when I did crazy stuff in early recovery, that she was always there. She always answered the phone. She was always there to give me a hug and tell me it was going to be okay. She reminded me that my higher power could restore me to sanity. And she told me, she helped me build this foundation. So I started to trust another human being, and that truly was a miracle. I lost trust with humanity so long before then, long before I ever picked up. My parents, of course, we all, if we have parents, trust them with our life. We're born and we are dependent on another human to feed us, to provide for us, to see that we survive. And when that trust is dissolved, I think it's a lifetime of building it up again. And my heart really hurts when I see children not being taken care of and not being provided for. And I think it's because of what I lived through. And it wasn't the worst, but I know that the feelings that I have and the results that I had in my life as a result of that really makes me feel so much for other addicts and for other children that are not given the gift of just being. So I went through a lot of things, finding out who I was, not liking what I was finding, the character defects, or really back then, I didn't even know I had any character defects. What she would always say to me is, look at your patterns, and that's what we're doing with the step work. We're looking for patterns in your behavior. And that's really how I started to see what I was all about. And, I kept saying, why do I keep picking the same kind of man? Why do I keep finding myself in this same situation, feeling, I was playing the victim, actually is really what I was doing. But it's because I had been a victim when I was a child. So I continued to feel a victim. But she wasn't there to tell me, you're playing a victim, get out of it. She was a gentle, loving sponsor in Narcotics Anonymous that did a lot of step work and that went through her own journey of what made her tick and what her issues were. So she was able to just gently guide me through that. And so I started to notice these patterns of, one was just wanting to be accepted. So doing anything I had to do to feel accepted. And, of course, that was my using, was whoever I was with, I did whatever they did so I could feel accepted. And when I got clean, I did the same thing. And I was afraid to speak up for myself. I was afraid to say, no, that's not okay. Or, no, you can't treat me that way. Or, this is what I really want. I had no opinion, and I was afraid to truly be who I am. And even though I started seeing these patterns in my step work, I was so afraid to take that leap and to trust myself and to trust that I would be okay. And slowly through staying clean a day at a time, going through life on life's terms, and getting outside help when I needed it, I started to see my life changing and see myself making some positive choices in my life. And I started trusting myself and the relationship that I have with myself. And people would say, I would hear people talk about being afraid to be with themselves, and that's why, and I think that I could really relate to that. I was always around. I had to be with people or with somebody, even though I was never participated because I was too shy I didn't know who I was. But I felt like I needed to be around other people or with a significant other so I could feel okay, so I could feel worthy. But when I would get alone with myself, it was so uncomfortable. I didn't like myself. I was always questioning my thoughts. Why am I alone? There's something wrong with me. And So I avoided it as much as possible. And I remember, I don't really exactly remember the time that it happened, but I remember finally feeling that I was alone, and I really liked it. And I enjoyed myself, and I enjoyed sleeping in my bed and waking up to myself and going about my day and what do I want to do right now? And do I want to lay on the couch and watch TV all day? I'll get up and make a cup of coffee, and I'll do, make some phone calls. And it was all about what I wanted for me. I wasn't looking at another person, place, or thing to dictate what my day was going to be. And that was such a freeing thing and a real self-acceptance and love for myself, that just like I had learned from my higher power that what I felt from my higher power about unconditional love, never turning his back on me, even when I did the most horrific thing, that my higher power, I knew, even if I only wanted to look over here where there was nothing, I knew over here, my higher power is right there. No matter what I do, no matter what I think, what I say, if I want to give up on myself, give up on anything, that it's a choice that I make. So I knew that was my guide for how I needed to treat myself and to not abandon myself and to know that I deserve the best in life. I deserve anything and everything that I could possibly want. And really, the sky is the limit. I started going out of the country about 13 years ago, and for vacation, and I every year I would go back, and I found a place to work so that I didn't have to pay for it, and I believed that I really deserved this, because over my whole life as a kid, I always thought of living in the jungle. Wouldn't that be so cool? And I never knew where I got that idea, but I just wanted to live in the jungle with the big leaves and the birds and everything. And but it was just this thought. I thought it was like a fairy tale maybe that I had read as a kid. But I ended up there, and my higher power guided me to find a way to do it, because I raised 3 kids by myself. I struggled through college and graduated. I have a degree. I have letters after my name, and I was a high school dropout. But at like 10 years clean, I graduated from college, and I have my own business. But I don't work in the winter. And so my God guided me, put the right people in my path, and I was able to get this piece of property. And I met my husband, and we bought this land, and we built a house on it, and we don't have to pay for anything when we're there, because I am not a rich person, and I would think, well, I could never go to some tropical place for the winter. Like you think, I would hear about people do this, and well, this could never be my life, because I just work paycheck to paycheck, and my husband's on Social Security, and he's retired. But even though I had those thoughts in my mind, in my spirit, I knew that anything is possible, because I had lived through that in recovery, that I had gone through so many things that normally, I would have used over, and I didn't. I stayed clean one day at a time, and so I did believe that, and I do believe it for everyone. Whatever your dream is, Like whatever that spark that maybe went off when you were a child that seems so out of reach is really like a premonition of what your life has for you. It's amazing. I'm just so excited about this process. So by seeing this whole thing unfold to me, really made me more have a deeper relationship with myself and really believe that it's about what information I put into my own head, my attitude, my thoughts. I can dwell on negativity. I mean, I can sit here right now and talk about all this shit in life, but it's this recovery process is about enjoying life on life's terms. It's not about hating life on life's terms. It's living life on life's terms, and I really do live life today. And my relationship with others, my relationship with God and my relationship with self is an ongoing thing. But my relationship with others is like double ongoing thing. I can be self-centered, want to blame the other person because I don't want to feel my feelings. I don't want to take responsibility. So I really, when my relationships get uncomfortable, at first, my first instinct is to blame the other person. Well, it's because he's doing that, or she said this, or I don't like the way they do this, and I don't like this and that. But really, that doesn't get me anywhere because I just keep pointing the finger, and then, like, I am so great, like, it couldn't be me. And then, but I look at my relationships, and, there's a point where I have to look at myself. And because of this recovery process, if you're working the steps and looking at yourself, it's inevitable that eventually I get to this point where I need to look at myself, never mind what the other person is doing or how they're living or whatever. What's the part that I play? And by me doing that, it's so freeing because I can, when my husband has a problem with something, I can get, or something comes up with him, I can either get into it or I can just step back and just be there and be the supporting, unconditional love that my higher power gives me, that I learn by watching and living life clean. I can be there and just support him kindly, gently, allow him or my friends, my sponsee, my close friends or anybody that I come in contact with, that it's not for me to give advice, to try to fix it, to try to tell them what to do or control things or, well, if only you did this, then this wouldn't happen. No. Because my higher power doesn't do that to me. My higher power is just there. Accepting, allowing, and loving. And that's really my goal each day, is to remember that and to just give that unconditional love to others. I talked to somebody... I was in California last week visiting my son, and I spoke to someone on Facebook about this topic, and she said, the first thing that comes to my mind is the golden rule. And I was like, the golden rule? But then the more I started thinking, I really respect this woman. She has a lot of NA wisdom, and she's a real power of example. And I started thinking about, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that really, really simply just pulls all this together. I learn by my higher power, by the way my higher power treats me, how to treat myself, and then how to treat others. And it's like really simple, which is most of these profound awakenings that we have in here are just very simple. And I just need to get out of my way and to humbly ask for guidance and for the answers. And I'm just, I am so blessed today in my life. My relationships with my family have, not all my family members, but with my kids, my daughter was 5 when I got clean, and she has 2 older brothers, so they saw some of that insanity. And through work in this program, I've gotten to have this really open acceptance with my kids, and I am who I am with them. And I go away in the winter for 5 months, and my daughter doesn't like it because she wants me here. But I need to do this for me right now in my life. The connection that I have with nature there and with my higher power, I get back to myself and to my spirit. There isn't any electricity. We have a generator, but, basically we don't have electricity. There's no television. We don't have a street. We have a dirt road, and I have to take a boat to get there. So I'm out there, and I'm in nature, and I just hear all day long the sound of the ocean and the birds. And I don't have any, when my husband is there with me, I have his contact, and the locals that live there. But it's just me and my higher power in that setting. So there's not a lot of room for distraction. I do a lot of inner work there, and I know that the key to all that is taking it back home with me, and to keep that peace and serenity and that heart connection that I have there with the space, with the place and the nature and the whole natural world. That is what I try to bring back with me, and to give that, to be in that peace when I'm here. And so anyway, I really loved this topic, and thinking about it and meditating on it. And I know that without my higher power, I would not be sitting here. I would be, I can choose to not have a relationship with others, God or myself, if I lived alone without any contact. And that's kind of like what I have, I guess, in Costa Rica. I don't have the influence. I don't have to worry about how I'm relating to others, because I'm only relating to self. But I think that's a good thing, to have that time just for me. And I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and we're all a miracle here, and the relationships that I've developed in this program really have opened up me to myself, and I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.